Good morning and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something Joseph Campbell spent his life exploring, and that's the power of myth and ritual in our lives. Let me start by defining what we mean by myth, because in our culture, myth has become synonymous with fake or untrue. When someone says that's just a myth, they mean it's not real. But that's not what myth actually means. A myth is a story that carries truth, that teaches us how to be human. It gives us frameworks for understanding life's big transitions, challenges, and mysteries. Myths aren't primitive lies that science disproved. They're maps for navigating the human experience. Joseph Campbell once pointed out that where there are no snakes, there are no snake gods. In other words, our images of the divine tend to grow out of the world we live in. A culture surrounded by tigers might imagine a tiger god. A desert culture may imagine a god of wind and sand. We all describe the infinite through the symbols available to us. That's exactly what myths do. They take the infinite, the divine, the eternal, the truths that are beyond words, and they clothe them in images and stories that make sense to us, that connect to our lived experience. They help us understand what can't be fully understood. Ritual, on the other hand, is the embodied practice of these truths. Ritual is how we mark transitions, create sacred space, ground our spiritual understanding in physical action. Ritual makes the invisible visible. It takes interior transformation and gives it exterior expression. Both myth and ritual matter deeply for our spiritual lives, and both seem to be largely missing from our modern culture. What we've lost without myth is meaning and depth and frameworks for understanding suffering and transformation. Modern life can feel flat without mythic understanding. Just one thing after another with no deeper pattern or purpose. We don't have shared stories that help make sense of illness, loss, failure, triumph, death, rebirth. Without myth, your personal struggles feel isolated, random, sometimes meaningless. With myth, you understand that your struggle is part of a universal human pattern. You're not just going through a hard time, you're on a hero's journey. You're not just sick, you're being initiated into deeper wisdom. You're not just grieving, you're experiencing death and rebirth. Campbell explored myths from cultures all over the world and found the same patterns appearing again and again. So I want to share a few that connect deeply to Unity's understanding. One of Campbell's favorite myths was the Arthurian legend, specifically the Grail quest. Knights set out seeking the Holy Grail, this sacred cup that would heal and renew. But Campbell understood that the Grail wasn't really about finding a physical cup. It was about the quest for personal spiritual fulfillment. This is exactly what Unity teaches about spiritual practice. You can learn from teachers, you can study principles, you can be part of a community. But ultimately, your spiritual journey is yours. You have to enter the forest at your own darkest point. You have to find your own path to the divine. No one can do it for you. The Grail quest is the quest for direct experience of God, for personal transformation, for finding the sacred cup that's been missing from your life. And Unity says, yes, that quest is real. It matters, and you're on it whether you realize it or not. In many ways, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore were like Prometheus. They were seekers who went where they weren't supposed to go, studying ideas that conventional Christianity condemned, learning from Eastern traditions, exploring metaphysical principles. And when they found spiritual fire, truth that healed, wisdom that transformed, they brought it to others. They didn't keep it for themselves. They didn't create an exclusive club. They published magazines. They offered prayer support to anyone who asked, taught principles that anyone could practice. They brought the light and made it available. That's the Prometheus archetype. And that's why unity exists, because two people were willing to seek truth courageously and share what they found. Campbell also studied the Buddhist story extensively. Siddhartha, a prince who left his palace, sat under a tree, and awakened to his true nature. The Buddha's enlightenment wasn't about believing the right things or following the right rules. It was about direct realization of what was already true. Unity teaches the same thing. We're not trying to become something we're not. We're awakening to what we already are. Divine beings, children of God, expressions of the infinite. The Christ within isn't something we have to earn or achieve. It's something we realize, just like Buddha realized his nature. The spiritual practice isn't about making yourself worthy. It's about waking up to the truth that you already are. There's another pattern Campbell traced across cultures. The descent into darkness, into the underworld, into the belly of the whale, Jonah being swallowed by the great fish, Persephone taken to the realm of the dead, Yana descending through 7 gates, stripped of everything she carried, Jesus in the tomb for 3 days. This isn't punishment, it's transformation. The hero has to go down into darkness before they can rise transformed. They have to lose everything before they can find what's real. They have to die to who they were before they can be born into who they're becoming. Charles Fillmore knew this pattern intimately. When he was facing the diagnosis that could have left him unable to walk, which wasn't exactly a diagnosis, it was a poor treatment of an early injury that had long-term effects. Bottom line, he went deep. He studied, he questioned everything he'd been taught about the body and health and God's nature. He descended into the unknown. He let go of old certainties, and he came back transformed. Not fully healed, but healing, and he continued that process. But he awakened to principles that would eventually become Unity's foundations. That descent into darkness isn't failure, it's initiation. And when you understand that mythically, when you're in your own dark night and you recognize it as part of the pattern, you can meet it differently. You're not broken, you're being transformed. And here's a unity myth that embodies these same truths. The founding of Silent Unity in 1890, Charles and Myrtle had this realization. If God is the principle of love and intelligence, the source of all good, then God is present wherever needed. Physical distance doesn't limit divine love. We're all united in one consciousness. So they started offering prayer support to anyone who wrote to them, anywhere in the world. They didn't charge money. They didn't require people to believe certain things. They just prayed with anyone who asked. That practice continues today. Silent Unity has been offering continuous prayer for over 130 years, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Prayer ministers are available. That's a living myth. A story that embodies external truth about divine love, transcending space and time, about our interconnectedness, about service as sacred practice. I'm proud to say that both of my parents were part of Silent Unity for a number of years when they were in Kansas City. And it's exciting to know that that will continue on and that they've played a small part in that. So when we understand our lives through mythic lenses, everything becomes more meaningful. Our struggles aren't just problems to solve, they're initiations. Our transformations aren't just personal growth, they're awakenings. Our spiritual practices aren't just techniques. their quest for the sacred cup that will bring healing and wholeness. Isn't that great? Their quest for the sacred cup that will bring healing and wholeness. Now, let's talk about ritual, because while myth gives us meaning, ritual gives us practice. Ritual is the embodied expression of our spiritual truth. It's how we mark transitions, create sacred space, and make the invisible visible. And modern culture has largely abandoned ritual, which leaves us without ways to honor life's important moments. Think about it. What rite of passage do we have for becoming an adult? Getting a driver's license, turning 21. These aren't sacred rituals, they're just legal markers. We've lost the ceremonies that say, you were a child, you went through an ordeal, and now you're recognized as an adult by your community. Without ritual, transition feels unmarked or incomplete. You graduate high school, but there's no ceremony that truly honors your leaving childhood behind. You retire, but there's no ritual that celebrates the wisdom you've gained. Someone you love dies, but after the funeral, there's often no ongoing ritual to help you continue processing grief. We've all lost the daily and the seasonal rituals that used to anchor human life. There were rituals for planting and harvesting, for the turning of the seasons, for the phases of the moon. There were daily prayers at set times, blessings over meals, evening rituals that marked the end of the workday. These weren't empty habits, they were anchors that reminded people throughout each day and throughout the year that life is sacred, that time matters, and we're part of something larger than ourselves. Without these rhythms, time can feel flat, undifferentiated. Monday feels like Thursday, feels like Saturday. December feels like June. We lose our sense of living within cycles, of participating in something that has patterns and meanings. We're just busy, being productive, just getting through it. Unity has rituals that serve this purpose, like most churches. We have baptism and christening, the ritual welcoming a child into a spiritual community and affirming their divine nature. We have ceremonies for aging up, when children move from Sunday school to Uniteens, and then from Uniteens to YOU, Youth of Unity. These mark real transitions in spiritual development and community belonging. We have candlelight service, where we pass light from candle to candle, embodying the truth that we share one light, one divine presence. We have the white stone ceremony based on Revelations 2:17, where each person receives a stone as a symbol of their spiritual identity and new understanding. We have marriage ceremonies that honor the sacred union of two people choosing to walk a spiritual path together. We have Sunday services themselves, which function as weekly rituals, a set time, a sacred space, practices we do together that remind us of who we are and what matters. As you may or may not know, because I do like to speak about it, I had the profound privilege of facilitating and being a counselor for the Uniteens on the Ropes course, where we did a rite of passage ritual for those who were aging out on the last day of camp, and it was a ceremony that marked their passage into the next stage of life. No longer tweens in this program, but young adults stepping into Youth of Unity, new responsibility and possibility. That ritual mattered. It gave them a clear moment where childhood ended and young adulthood began. It honored what they'd been through together, and it sent them forward with blessings and recognition. Without something like that, they would have just stopped coming to camp. No marker, no honoring that ending, and no sacred passage. This is why ritual matters. It makes transitions real. It creates sacred space where transformation can be acknowledged and blessed. And there's something beautiful. Spiritual practice means it's not one and done. You don't show up and pray once and you're enlightened. It's continuous practice. And creating rituals around our practices can give beauty and reverence as well as assist with habit creation. Maybe your ritual is lighting a candle before meditation. Maybe it's a specific cushion you sit on at a specific time of day, a specific prayer you say to begin. Maybe it's walking the same path each morning with the intention of prayer. Maybe it's the way you set up your altar, the objects you place there, the order in which you do things. These aren't superstitions. They're rituals that signal to your body and mind, now we're entering sacred time. Now we're opening to the divine. Now we're practicing. The key is that your rituals need to be authentic to you. There's a difference between creating a practice because it genuinely helps you connect with the divine and performing someone else's idea of what spiritual practice should look like. You'll know the difference by how it feels in your body. Real ritual resonates. Borrowed ritual that doesn't fit you feels hollow, like you're going through the motions. So if lighting incense makes you feel connected, do that. If it just makes you sneeze and wonder why you're bothering, don't. If kneeling to pray opens your heart, kneel. If it hurts your knees and makes you resentful, sit in a chair. Your ritual should serve your connection with the divine, not some image of what a spiritual person looks like. Over time, the ritual itself becomes a doorway. Just sitting on that meditation cushion begins to shift your consciousness because you've done it so many times. Just lighting that candle signals your whole being that it's time to pray. The ritual creates a groove, a well-worn path that makes the practice easier, more natural, and more integrated into your life. That's why unity rituals matter. Sunday service gives us a weekly rhythm. The candlelight service gives us an annual marker. The aging up ceremonies gives us a rite of passage. And the permission to create your own personal ritual gives us the freedom to make our spiritual practice truly our own. So let's explore this together now. We'll go ahead and move into our meditation time. So take a few deep breaths and get comfortable. And if you'd like, close your eyes. If not, just soften your gaze. Take another deep breath and just let your body settle. Bring your awareness to your spiritual life as it is right now. Your practices, your understanding, your connection with the divine. Now ask yourself, do I need more myth in my life? More stories, more meaning, more understanding of the deeper patterns? Just ask the questions and let the answers arise. It might come as an image. Maybe you see yourself reading or listening to stories or having your own story told back to you in a new way. It might come as knowing, just a clear sense of yes or no. It might come as a guide or figure who appears to speak with you. However it comes, just receive it. Now ask, do I need more ritual in my life? More embodied practice? More sacred marking of time and transition? More physical expression of spiritual truth? Again, just ask and receive. Maybe you'll see yourself creating an altar. Maybe you'll feel your body wanting to move in prayer. Maybe you sense a need for a rite of passage you never had. Maybe a specific ritual shows up clearly. A daily practice you're being called to. A ceremony you need to create or participate in. Trust what comes. Your inner wisdom knows what you need. And if both came, if you need both myth and ritual, that's perfect too. Receive both answers. As we get ready to move into our minute of silence, just be with whatever came to you. Let it settle. Give it this moment to unfold and become clear. As we return from our minute of silence, take in another deep breath and let it out. Take a moment to feel your body. Gently bring your awareness back to the room around you. And when you feel ready, open your eyes. Your life is already mythic, whether you recognize it or not. You're on a quest for something sacred. Meaning, purpose, connection with the divine. You're going through initiations, facing trials, experiencing death and rebirth. That's not a metaphor, that's the actual pattern of a human life lived with awareness. And ritual can help you honor that. It can mark the passages, create the sacred space, give your invisible transformation visible form. Ritual gives your practice form. Both are available to you, both are yours to claim, and I invite you to fully explore myth and ritual. So it is. Thank you.